Well, thanks everybody for joining us on Logistics Executive TV. Very special interview today with a gentleman who I've been following now for well over a year on LinkedIn. Been communicating with him, been a very hard man to track down. He is the founder and MD of an organisation, a charitable organisation, operating out of the US but operating in Ukraine. It's called Tip of the Spear. It's landmine removal. And the gentleman's name is Ryan Hendrickson. Ryan, you're an ex-Green Beret. You're a certified project manager. You're author of the Tip of the Spear. It says on your profile that you're retired, but you are far from retired, my friend, and you've been running some amazing missions into Ukraine. Welcome, and please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, definitely, and thank you very much for having me on. It's amazing. So, yeah, we Tip the Spear Landmine Removal got our start in Ukraine back in March when the Russians escalated the conflict there. I was working a government contract at the time, left Afghanistan early July 21. And once all that kind of closed down, I was just really left kind of empty and looking for my purpose. What now? I've spent my entire military career in Afghanistan. Now what? February 24th rolled around. I was watching my TV just like everybody else around the world was. And I knew that I had to do something. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that there had to be something I can do. I've done, my share of fighting throughout the years as a Green Beret. So I didn't think it was joining, the International Legion or anything like that. So I just went over and started helping evacuate civilians. And that turned into, as civilians started heading back to their homes, they were getting blown up by landmines, UXO, stuff like that. And so I started doing these campaigns to kind of not campaigns, but I started helping, doing education for the children. Don't touch this, stay away from that. And that turned into helping, some of these sapper units that were hastily created, training them up at the best that I could, which then turned into, there's something here. I can help people with this, doing this landmine removal and training people up and actually going out and demining with them. From my experience as an 18 Charlie in Special Forces. And so I just started going back to Ukraine with this vision. And I would bring equipment with me. I would come home, raise funds, buy equipment like handheld detectors, remote pull equipment. I'd bring it over. I would train a unit up on it. My way of vetting them was we would go out and we would demine. And then, after 45 days to, 60 days, I would say, okay, these guys, you guys are good to go. Donate all the equipment over to them, return home and start the fundraising process again to do it all over again. The only way we're going to be able to have an impact in Ukraine at all with the millions and millions of mines that are there is through force multiplying. You have to, one team isn't going to be able to do it. You need to continue to to create these teams that are going to be able to not only fulfill the Ukrainian mine action standard and rules and regulations, but they're going to be there and they're creating teams. And next thing you know, you have hundreds of deminers out there that are tackling this problem and making areas safe, so civilians don't have to worry about their next step.
Now, you run a number of missions over there. I think I've been following you, a year and a half. How many trips have you done so far? Because you go back and I know you go back to raise funds and you talk to people, you get your equipment. I mean, we're logistics people and logistics executive group and logistics executive TV. So I'm interested to know a little bit about the logistics of how you put this thing together. I mean, how did you actually get it off the ground? Did you have some donors that were there to help you out, or how did it work?
So this September will be our 6th mission going back, but I still look back and try and figure out how it all got how it all got kicked off. Again, going over there in the very beginning, when I came home from that trip, I was asking for donations, but then it got brought up to me, hey, why don't you create a 501c3 so people can get tax returns on their donations, and you're a legal organization. And so that's what we did. And it was insane. Within 2 weeks, we had our 501c3 status. I couldn't believe it.
People love a tax break, right? Tax break.
Yeah. And so we had our 501c3 status, but no, all of the fundraising that I've done, everything has been on social media through Twitter is my biggest platform, but social media and just people, $10 here, $20 here, people opening up their hearts to help out. And so the biggest thing, as you well know, that I do is I'm a huge on donors have to see what their funds are going towards. That's the reason why people have asked me all the time, why do you video everything you do? You looking for attention or something like that? And I go, well, in a way I am. Donors need to see what their funds are going to.
Yeah,
donors need to see. Donors need to see. Yeah.
I see you discovering these things, and then you start at the beginning of the day and the video ends and there's about 300 or 400 of these bloody mines lined up on the side of the road. It's unbelievable, man. I just so much respect for what you've been doing. And of course, normally when we do these interviews, we don't want people to be selling, what they do around the logistics or supply chain world. But this interview is all about getting you some support, my friends. So people can see up here where they can donate and where they can support. And we're going to come back to that right at the end. But, I want to hear more about the story because, this story has not been all beer and skittles. There's been some issues, and I know that one of your team suffered a significant injury, a massive injury, beginning of this year, I think. And from what I understand, he's still up at the military base up in Germany. Is that correct?
Yeah. So June 7th, Monty stepped on an anti-personnel mine. We were out in Kharkiv, and it was a very complex minefield where you had the anti-tank mines, which were being basically protected by the anti-personnel mines. And we hadn't even got to the part of the field where we started to encounter the bounding mines, but we found out later on there was a bunch of bounding mines there too. So a very, very complex minefield, but PMN4 ended up, Monty ended up stepping on a PMN4, and it took half his foot off. He's, like you just said, he's currently in Germany right now, going through some amazing medical treatment there. It's the response that we received from Europe alone. I'm not saying that I'm going to go out there and step on a mine. I stepped on an IED in Afghanistan. I know the pain. It's bad, but the response we got from the Europeans, every single major military hospital from England to, Holland, Germany, Poland, you name it, all of them said, we'll do it. Come here. We'll take care of you guys.
Shout out to Monty and his wife. I know his wife was over there helping out, and you had real problems trying to get him back to the US originally, but it looks like the Europeans picked up the game and really helped out there. Yeah,
absolutely. Very very reassuring. I will tell you that much right there from the care we received from the Ukrainians, all the way up to every single hospital in Europe basically opening up their doors, minus Russia. But very, very reassuring. It was, we're definitely not alone. And it felt like it's horrible, but it felt good, the amount of support. It was just amazing.
So the tools that you're accumulating, we see you with the mine carrying tools, they're getting some really advanced Equipment, I noticed the other day you had some equipment that previously would be interfered with by power lines and transmission lines. And now you've got a class of mine sweeping, like it's a big broom, right? A big plastic broom type thing for those who, I don't know whether you've got one laying around the house, but here we go. Yeah, there it is. That's the baby right there. Yeah. And it's the latest one, yeah?
Yes, that's the CHEA version 3. We use the CHEA detectors because they are a continuous wave and not pulse induction. And pulse induction, basically what that does is you can be interfered with not only by electromagnetic fields like power lines, but also you have to you can't work within a certain distance to another detector, which is over 10 meters. So that's a pretty big distance between detectors, so they're not feeding off each other. The CHEAs, they have 5 different channels, and one CHEA on separate channels, you can work within 1 meter of each other, if not even closer. But the infrastructure in Ukraine, getting Ukraine back up onto its feet, getting a lot of these areas, power, water, fuel, especially before winter comes up, it's huge. Power is the biggest one. And there are a lot of mines underneath the power lines. And unfortunately, a lot of the detectors that are being used over there, they do not work under the power lines. And it's causing a lot of false feedback, almost to the point to where some of the demining crews just have to just demine via visually because there's so much feedback from the power lines. But we don't get that with the CHEAs, which is good.
Okay, so what are these things worth? What is that piece of equipment worth? US dollars.
So the CHEA version 3, this is way, way more than we actually need over there. But you're looking at 16, 17,000 right there. The CHEA version, the CHEA version 1s, that will do 90% or 95% of everything we need to do in Ukraine. And those are going $2,400 a piece. Wow. But yeah, the CHEA V3s, that's the Ferrari of handheld detectors. It was huge in Afghanistan because of the command wire. I'm sorry, it would have been huge in Afghanistan because of the command wire threat. But yeah, this is the Ferrari. The CHEA version 1s, they're phenomenal devices, and they're going to do everything you need them to do.
Great. Well, good to hear. And we've got a potential audience of up to 300,000 followers on LinkedIn in our database, and we're going to be reaching out. People can see up here, and we're going to go back to, where people can reach you, how they can support you and what have you. Talk to me a little bit about the logistics of getting over and back and the equipment. I mean, what sort of support do you need, and where do you operate? Where do you stay when you're there? What are all those logistics and supply chain issues you have to deal with? Because I don't think you've got a particularly big team. You're a really lean operation, yeah?
We are a very lean operation because the majority of our demining force are local nationals, Ukrainians. The logistics it's very rudimentary right now. I'm literally bringing 15 suitcases full of detectors and equipment onto an aircraft. United Air is usually who I fly, and we're paying those baggage costs to get all of our stuff over there. Yes, we do not have, I guess, a robust logistics network yet. We have like this little guy right here. So that's a Talon 4 tactical robot. We were able to bring one over to Ukraine, and it was a nightmare because of getting it on a civilian aircraft and getting it over to Ukraine. So logistics will make or break a mission 100%. And as we grow, if we don't expand our logistics network and footprint, we're going to be limited on what we can provide because of logistics. So it's huge. Yeah. But once we get over there, so because we've been traveling all over Ukraine, we've been staying in hotels, and believe it or not, that's actually the largest cost that we incur is hotel the cost of living with hotels, and it's cheap in Europe, but you get 6 guys, $50 a night, and you're going to these different hotels. The price is going to rack up. So we're looking to find one location where we can just do the entire deployment in one location and then rent a house. It'll be a lot cheaper for us. And it's just a lot more feasible than hotels all the time, because that's where the bulk of our operational expenses go to is hotels. It's crazy. So
yeah, I get it. No, I was interested because it's a matter of if people watching this and they want to support. Now, I want to make a very important point here. You're a non-combatant at all operating there. You're purely into demining. As I say, you started out with, as you said, by rescuing people, getting them away from the front lines. And I know there's a couple other operators, ex-US military, doing that as well. Andy and a couple other guys. So for people who are concerned about getting involved in military intervention on things, it's not happening. You're all about creating peace and trying to save lives, yeah?
Correct. Yeah, we're non-combatants. We don't demine in support of military operations. I've been asked quite a few times, why don't we demine? Helping out with the counteroffensive, and that's not what our role is. We are focused mainly on agriculture demining. The second and the third order of effects of the agriculture, I guess the landmine crisis in the agricultural areas of Ukraine is affecting the world, including, the continent of Africa and multiple areas in the Middle East that depend on Ukrainian agricultural exports, some of them for their very own survivability. Yeah. So we really focus on agricultural demining projects, battle area clearance, not so much the humanitarian demining right now, because there's still an active conflict going on. So unless Ukraine has dedicated certain areas for a humanitarian clearance, which is what your Halo trusts do, your FSDs and stuff like that, if they've dedicated these areas for humanitarian clearance, then you can actually conduct the humanitarian clearance. You can give the land use agreement to the farmers and everything like that. But as of right now, because the war is still ongoing and the areas where we do demine are closer to the front lines, we can only really do battle area clearance. Yep. And so, yeah, that's what we're focused on in the agricultural areas, just trying to help revitalize, the breadbasket of the world, basically. And
has there been any sort of estimate as to the amount of the diminishment of production that these mines are causing with the agricultural centre? I mean, we know that the Russians are just, put a stop to the export of grain, although and they're bombing Odessa and all around the coast and around the Black Sea and what have you to undermine the export of grains out of and products out of Ukraine. But is there any feel for the percentile of diminishment that this is causing with the mines?
So I don't actually have an exact percentage. I know that can be found. It's open source, but okay. I do know that it's big. Not just because the farmers can't get out to their fields and cut due to the landmines, but also, as you were saying, the Black Sea situation with the grain and the Russians stopping the export of grain, all the way up to infrastructure. A lot of these silos on the Black Sea and everything like that being damaged. There's a lot of issues that play into it, but just purely what landmines in agricultural areas, how that's diminished it. I don't know the answer to that, but I do know there is an open source answer to it. I just don't know it off the top of my head.
So what area in Ukraine the region generally, would you look to get a house if you're going to get a place to try and keep your costs down? What area would it be? Near what city?
So we've done a lot of work up in the Kharkiv area, and so Kharkiv City would be one of the areas. We're also looking at the Kherson area, the Kherson region, pretty closely, and there's some areas there that if we could actually safely work without getting hit with artillery. We do have some requests out in those areas for some help. But I'll just say Kherson Oblast for security reasons. But
no problems. Hey, get it. And this is a different database that we're talking to here than what you would normally talk to. So this is just a bolt-on database. So if anybody in that Kharkiv Oblast area is what you're talking about, it's got a property, it's got a house that you could rent or give to these folks at the tip of the spear, I'm sure you'd really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, it would definitely be a rent situation, because another thing we want to do is get money back to the local economy. Start to revitalize it through everything we do is through the local economy. So, we're definitely looking to rent for sure.
All right. Yeah, very, very cool. So you're in the US at the moment. Next mission, when are you leaving? Roughly?
So we're going to be leaving roughly the middle of September. Okay. And going to Poland like we normally do, and then make our way over to Kyiv, do some meetings there, and then head out to our areas.
Okay. Look, man, I'm going to stay in touch with you. I want to get you again once you're in situ over there in Ukraine. We want to get you on the ground and remind people again what you're doing with the equipment, why you're there, promote the hell out of what you're doing to support you. For now, I'm almost lost for words as to what you folks are doing. I know you're training a lot of people. I know you've done a hell of a lot of good work, and you're going to be doing a lot more. From simple folks like us, just cannot offer enough respect for what you're doing. I know that a lot of our audience, logisticians, logistics people, we have a lot of people from the armed forces and defence operations around the world who follow us as well. I'm sure that they would support me by thanking you from the bottom of our hearts for the work that you're doing, for the lives that you're putting at risk, including your own. We will stay in touch. Just give us a blast right now. What are the best ways people can get in touch with you? And they'll be able to see that just above us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is landmineremoval.org. And I'm also on Twitter at Tip of the Spear 42. Tip the Spear 42. Sorry.
Yeah.
Had a brief lapse in the brain there, but Tip the Spear 42 on Twitter, and landmineremoval.org. That has all of our information on there and ways for people to support. So I really, really appreciate you having me on. This is great.
Least a humble man like myself could do, my friend. So you've got the book as well, Tip of the Spear. That's up here. People can also buy that, and any other way that they can support you. Of course, Tip of the Spear will appreciate it. We'll appreciate it as followers and supporters, and we'll hook up with you again in Ukraine. Ryan Hendrickson, ex-Marine Beret, leader in the Tip of the Spear, and thanks again so much for taking time to speak to us, and we wish you well and stay safe, my friend.
Thank you very much.
All the best. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on Logistics Executive TV.